Okay, you are welcome to this class. We are going to start right away now. Today, the content of this lecture is project management, which is PMP. And most of you are eager to write the exam finally. And it is a good idea that you write the exam early because they are going to change the course syllabus. The syllabus is supposed to have changed by February this year, but because of this COVID-19 issue, I think they have extended it to around December. So before we have 5 knowledge areas, which is the initiation, the planning, the execution, the monitoring and control, and the crucial. But with the new syllabus, it's going to be 3 knowledge areas, which are the people, the process, and the environment. So everything you are doing in life revolves around those 3 key areas, which are the people, the process, and the environment. So those are the 3 key knowledge areas which the new syllabus will focus attention in. So in the course of this lecture, we will still limit ourselves to the current syllabus, which are the 5 knowledge areas, which is the initiation, the planning, execution, monitoring and control, and crucial. And that is how your scores are also be based. Your scores are be based on initiation, which is around 12%, planning, which is about 25%, the execution, which is about 32% or so, the monitoring and control, which is also around 20-something percent, then crucial, which is 8%. So you will be judged based on this percentage during the exam. So, but in the course of today's lecture, we will carry out a general overview about the project management, what project is, what is project management, what are the process groups in project management, what are the knowledge areas in project management, and what are the causes of project failure, and how to apply project management in the real life. And we talk about some soft skills and hard skills required for project success. Then today is the general overview. So tomorrow and next tomorrow, we are going to enter into detailed calculations, all the calculations that are in project management. We are going to solve examples in all of them tomorrow. And from that, you are good to go. You can sit for the exam and pass the exam. So now, what is a project? And it can also come out in exam. The key things you should understand in a project are: 1, it is a temporary endeavor. It is a temporary something, which is something that has beginning and has an end. That is how you will know it is a project. A project is different from operation in the sense that operation is a continual process. It doesn't have an end. It has beginning, doesn't have an end. For example, routine maintenance of your facilities, facility management, they are operation. But a project, you just start the project, you finish it and close it out, and that is the end of that project. That is one of the key elements that defines a project. 1, it is a temporary something. It's not a permanent something. In the sense that it has the beginning and end. Every project must have an end at sight. When are you going to finish the project? 2, every project must is unique. It is a unique temporary project. Why do we call it unique? It has never been done before. That every project has never been done before. You must have done a similar project, but it will never be that same project. That is why we say a project is a unique temporary. That means it has never been done before. Always understand these key words: unique, 2, temporary, 3, a project is an undertaking to fulfill objective. There must be an objective you have in mind, either to build a house or to build a pipeline or to build anything, and it must have a deliverables. These are what we are going to get at the end of this project. So what you will just have at the back of your mind, as if somebody should ask you what is a project, is a project is a unique temporary endeavor carried out to achieve a given purpose. At the end, it might be a product or a service. A project doesn't really mean you must go and build a physical product or a building or a road construction. A barrier, if you are doing a barrier is a project. If you even start a university right from 100 level to final year, it's also a project. Marriage is also a project. It has the day you start planning the marriage, and as soon as you finish the wedding, you close out the marriage. So that is why we said it's a product or it's a service. It can be a result you achieve. But the two key elements there is a unique and it's a temporary endeavor. Now, the central truth, a project manager should not be praised for starting a project, but for finishing it. Every project must has a beginning and must has an end. When you start a project, that is when not that's the beginning of the project doesn't really matter. What matters is the end of the project. So we shall be seeing all this one maybe tomorrow when we'll be dealing with scheduling and budgeting. Now, I will also quickly differentiate between a product. You can write it. You can also differentiate between a project, a program, and a portfolio. We have already defined what is a project. A group of projects, a group of related projects is what we call a program. Assuming you have a project, you have you have 5 estates where you are constructing almost the same related project. You have estate A, estate B, estate C, estate D, estate E, and you are having similar projects in all these places. But you, as the program manager, you will be controlling all those 5 places. For a project, somebody who controls a project is called a project manager. So a project manager will be in each of the sites. But a program manager will be coordinating all these 5 locations. All the 5 project managers will be reporting to one program manager. He is the one coordinating all the 5 locations, but each location has their own project manager. So that is why we say that a program is a group of related projects. You must underline that word, related. If they are not related, they are not program. They must be related. If they are not related, they are not program. So underline that word, because they can use that one to differentiate, to deceive you on exam day. A program is a group of related projects. A program is a group of unrelated projects. A program, so you must understand that word, related project. Now, the person who monitor a group of project or a program is what we call a program manager. Then we now have a portfolio. A portfolio is a group of programs. They may not necessarily be related. They may not necessarily be related. An unrelated program, a program, you have different programs, but you now have the project managers will relate. The project managers will report to the program managers. The program manager will coordinate all the different projects in different locations and relate to the portfolio managers. So a group of programs, underline that word, the program don't need to be related, is called a portfolio. So the person that handles or monitor a group of portfolio is what we call a portfolio manager. So in the organogram, the portfolio manager is at the top. The next is the program manager. The next is the project manager. Now, we will come, let's go, I just differentiate those three. Now, what is now a project manager? Project management. We have defined what is a project, we have defined what is a program, we have defined what is a portfolio. So what is now a project management itself? A project management is the application of knowledge, skill, tools and techniques to project activity to meet the project requirement. So the coordination of all the projects to achieve a given objective is what is referred to as project management. Now, why a project manager is one who deploy project management services, like the conductor or in an orchestra, who is not expected to know how to play every instrument in the orchestra, but he should possess such musical knowledge, understanding, and experience. What we are trying to say is that a project manager don't need to be a subject matter expert. That is why you see accountant can be a project manager. QS can be a project manager. Engineer can be a project manager. Even ordinary course, all those other courses can become a project manager. But you only try to have the skill and the knowledge. He is the one that is coordinating all the subject matter experts. There are subject matter experts in each of these different fields, but the project manager coordinates all of them. That is why the project manager should have the knowledge of project integration. It must have the knowledge of cost management and control. It must have the knowledge of project scheduling. It must have knowledge of quality management and control. It must have knowledge in resources management and control, risk management, procurement management. So there is a project management proverb which says, when the weight of the project paper equal to the weight of the project itself, the project can be considered complete. That means exactly how it is on the paper is being duplicated exactly or replicated on the ground, then that project has met its objective. So that is why a project management is a general course for everybody. It's not limited to a certain people. Now, what skill do you need to have as a project manager? You must have a good communication skill. You must have a negotiating skill. You must be able to negotiate. That is why a slogan says, you don't deserve what you want. You deserve what you negotiated. You might be an engineer. You went for a company to employ you, but because you are overqualified, but because you don't deserve what you want, you begin to negotiate with them. That is why you can see sometimes there are some people, they are not as educated, as knowledgeable as you are, but they will be receiving higher salary than you in the same company because you get what you negotiated and not what you deserve. So you must be persuasive. You must have the leadership skill. You must know how to compromise situation as, okay, let's try to strike a balance. You must be able to resolve conflict. You will listen attentively. A good leader listen more and speak less. You must be able to network. You must be able to have a critical and analytical skill. This will help you to quickly resolve some problem or issue that happens on site. You must have management skill and business strategic skills. So all those skills are very important to a project manager. Project management wisdom. What breakdown structure activity is not achievement. Never underestimate the ability of a senior management or plant to buy a bad idea and fail to buy a good idea. That is why you see at a negotiation is very key, is key. If you as a project manager, you should be able to negotiate and network with the stakeholders. This is the way you people are looking at this project is not the way I'm looking at it. You are looking at it as a general overview, but I have a project management eyes that I'm using to see beyond what people are saying. That is why that the project manager is the key person in the project. So as soon as a project manager, the project chapter is being endorsed, it has given the project manager authority over that project. So we'll be talking about the project chapter shortly. Now, some tools and techniques. As a project manager, there are some tools you should be able to use or you understand. You may not be able to understand in-depth knowledge of all of them, but you should be able to have at least basic knowledge in all these tools. We have what we call leaks and lag. I will be telling you the difference between all these ones during scheduling when we'll be dealing with network scheduling. Float, MS Project, these are software, Primavera, with a risk register. I will be showing you all these documents as time goes on, like especially the risk register. I have a prepared risk register. I think I've even shared it with you people. Issue log, network diagram, critical path, communication log, Gantt chart, base camp, do that trend. So those are tools. In the course of the lecture, you will be seeing all these tools as we are going into the different calculations. Now, importance of project management. Project management is very important because we effectively don't, it helps individual, groups, and public and private organizations to, one, meet business objective. You must be able to meet business objective. We will be discussing all this one shortly during the initiation stage, because we will be discussing each of the five knowledge, process group, which is the initiation, what happens under initiation, planning, what happens under planning, execution, what happens under execution, monitoring and control, what is even the difference between monitoring and control, because the tools are not the same thing, and what happened under them. Then closure, project closure, what will be happening under them. We should be discussing all these ones shortly. So now, you must be able to meet the objective of the business. You must be able to satisfy stakeholders' expectation. You should be able to be more predictable about the project. You must have increase in chance of success of the project. You must deliver the right product at the right time. You must resolve problem and issue. You must be able to respond to risk in a timely manner, and you should be able to optimize resources. Very important. We'll be seeing how we'll be doing cost optimization. Then how to identify, recover, and terminate a failing project. There are projects that are already heading into failure, so you don't need to continue with that project. At what point can you crash or terminate a project? So when project management is poorly done or completely absent in project work, it may result in you miss the deadline. That is one of the major reasons why some projects are behind schedule. You have a project for a baseline period of 3 months. You end up finishing the project for 6 months. That is, you miss the deadlines. Now, you have the tendency to overrun your cost. That is why cost control is very important. You have the possibility of end up having poor quality. That is why quality management is important. You have the tendency of having a lot of rework. And that is why monitoring and control is very important. You have uncontrolled expansion of the project. You are gold plating your project. We have what we call gold plating in project management. When you have a scope of work to be done, the rule of a project management is do what is in the scope and nothing else. Don't try to please your customers and you will be gold plating your project. Gold plating means you are trying to do more than what is in the scope. You are adding more work to the project to show that you are a good person. Remember, gold plating, either in scope of work or either equality, will come with a cost. Who will not bear the cost? That is why the golden rule of project management is do exactly what is in the scope and nothing else. If you perform exactly what is in the scope and your client is not even still satisfied because he felt that some other thing must have been done, yet that project has been completed because you have already fulfilled exactly what is in the scope. So if there is anything the client want to add, he has to request that through change management control. You raise a change request and you will pass it through the change management control. When it is approved, then you update your project management plan. We should be talking about all these things later. The documents you need to have during your project management. Loss of reputation for the organization. We have known that organization, they can never meet up with time. They always overrun their budget. It will ruin your reputation. Unsatisfied stakeholder. Stakeholder will be saying, we know them. We know them. They can never do good things. So stakeholder will be disappointed. Failure in achieving the objective for which the project was undertaken. So that is one of the reasons why project management is important. Now, as currently, these are the 5 process groups in project management. Initiating, I think should be 12%. Planning, executing, monitoring and control, closure. So these 3 parts, planning, execution, and monitoring and control, are the ones that carry the highest percentage. If you focus attention in all these ones, if your score on the exam day exceed target for these 3 points, even though you perform poorly in initiation and in closure, you will be able to still pass. I've seen somebody who has below target in closing, below target in initiating, and because he even below target in planning, but in executing and monitoring, he hits above target. The person also passed the exam. So you concentrate more on those 3 process groups. Now, let's take each of them one after the other and let's see what happens under them. And as I said earlier, these 5 process groups are going to change by January next year to only 3 process groups, which will now be people, process, and the environment. So they are trying to fine-tune the system to ISO standard. ISO recommendation is they deal with the people, they deal with the process, and they deal with the environment where you are working in. So now, initiating. What is initiation? Project initiation. During project initiation, that is when you try to conceive about the project. That is when you try to have I think it's good for us to embark on this project. At this point, you are thinking of going into this project. You are trying to see how this project is being relevant to you. Should you go ahead with this project? Those are the activities that happen under project initiation. You can see them here. Identify your business need. Your business need is the purpose why you want to undertake that project. From there, you will end up having a document that is called your business case. Your business case is a document that justifies the purpose of you trying to venture into a project. So when you have identified the business need that we want to build a house to meet the demand of low-income earner, you have identified that need, meeting the target of low-income earner. So the business case will now show their need, their expectation, how to meet them, the constraint and the absorptions. All these things will be contained in a document called the business case. So the business case document is being created during initiating. It can come up under exam condition. They will ask you the business case of a project management, under which group is it being created? So business case is being created during initiative stage. Now, it is also the initiative stage you develop what you call project chapter. Then what is a project chapter? A project chapter is a document It's a document. Listing is a document prepared by a project manager that lists all the activities what should be done on that project, and it is signed up by the stakeholders. As soon as the project manager is approved, the project chapter is approved, authority is given to the project manager. As soon as a project manager receives the project chapter, full authority is being given to him. In that case, he has the absolute power to coordinate the project, to use the project financial resources, to use the project human resources, to carry out the overall project, overall coordination of the project, as soon as a project chapter is being approved. Listen, a project chapter is being written by a project manager. Write them down, but approved by stakeholders. Under exam, it can come out who draft a project chapter. They will be asking you, the project manager, the maybe the stakeholders, maybe the expeditors, the project coordinator. So you should know who drafts it and who approves. Now, a formal authorization to the start of the project, that is when the project chapter is being approved, articulate the high-level project scope. At this point, you also identify, I use the word high level because this is just a general, not details, a high-level project scope. What are we going to do? Deliverables. What are we going to deliver, achieve? What is the duration of this project? What is the cost? What is the assumption we are making? What are the constraints? It is under this initiation that a high level of this document are being documented. And one important thing also, it is at this point you also identify stakeholders and create a stakeholder register. Who is a stakeholder? A stakeholder is any party that is directly or indirectly, negatively or positively be affected by the project. If underline the word, it can affect you directly or indirectly. It can affect you negatively or positively. And in such case, all these people that you can list that in performing this project, these people are being affected by this project. For example, you want to construct a building in a certain area in Lagos. You will talk about the project owner. You will talk about the clients who is going to buy the buildings. You will talk about the government officials, the town planners, who will approve the projects. You talk of the engineers who will design the buildings. Then you talk of the community people, locally called the Omoniles, how they are going to be affected. The people living in the environment there, the impact of creating that project. So anybody that is directly or indirectly, positively, your interest in the project might be positively, it must also be negatively affected. So those are called stakeholders. Note it always come up in exam question. Stakeholders are not only those who are directly and positively affected. It can be positively, can be negatively, it can be directly, it can be indirectly. So a single document that lists out all the peoples involved in a project and their different roles is what we call the stakeholder register. The stakeholder register is a document created during the initiative stages, but it might not be final at that point because as the project is going on, some stakeholders can be identified. Some stakeholder can even leave. So a stakeholder register is a document that is continuously be updated. It's an iterative process because you can identify stakeholders at any point in the project, either at the initiative stage, planning stage, executive stage, monitoring and control. But one of the disadvantages is that if you fail to identify a major stakeholder at the early point of the project, it's going to cause a major problem in the project. So that is why it is good to be detailed enough during the initiative stage to identify especially most of the key stakeholders. Now, it is also at this point, initiative point, that you also start bringing out your risk analysis. At this point, you also have a high-level risk register. A risk register is a document that identifies all the inherent risk in the project. All the inherent risk, we will deal with that extensively tomorrow when we'll be restricting ourselves to risk management. So you identify risk, you put in the impact, you analyze the risk quantitatively and qualitatively. Then you assign a response plan in case the risk eventually happen. Then you put an action plan to all the different risks you have identified, whether they are high impact risk, they are low impact risk, and how they can be mitigated when they finally happen. So a document, I will show you the document later. I think you have it so that you know what a risk register is. So a document containing all this information is what we call a risk register. It is also being generated during the initiative stage at a high level. Risk identification is an ongoing process. It is an iterative process that moves right from the initiative stage onto the closing point, because you can also identify risk even during closing. That is why risk register is always updated continually throughout the life cycle period of the project. Now we go to the planning stage. When you finish all the initiative processes, you now go ahead. At this time, the business case is now justifiable. The business need is now well identified. Authority is being given to the project managers. All the scope, high-level deliverables, duration, the cost, assumptions, and constraints, they are all well detailedly listed out at a high-level point. Now, you now have a reason to say, okay, let's go ahead with the project. After that point, you will now go to the planning stage. What do you do at this stage? At this planning stage, this is a detailed form of initiation. This is where you carry out all the detailed planning, business requirement gathering. All this project we want to do, what are the documents we need? All the various documents, you will not be gathering them. In planning stage, we have what a special document that is being generated is called the project document. And under planning, we have what we call project management plan. I will also show you the exact format of the project management plan shortly. The project management plan is a document that detailing lists out all the business requirements of a project. The document is so heavy that all the other management plans are being embedded into the project management plan. In other words, project management plan is the master plan of the project. Remember, I will come to that shortly. We have 10 knowledge areas in project management. We have 10 knowledge areas in project management. We have the initiation stage, we have the scope management, we have the schedule management, we have the cost management, we have the risk management, we have the procurement management, we have the communication management, we have the stakeholder management, we have the procurement management. So they are 9, they are 10. And each of these knowledge area, there is always a project management, there is always a management plan document that you always created. First of all, in the scope, we have what we call scope management plan. We have what we call cost management plan. We have what we call schedule management plan. We have what we call procurement management plan, risk management plan, stakeholder management plans. All these 10 management plans, they are being embedded inside the project management plan. That is why the project management plan is called the master plan that consists of all other management plan. There is difference between project management plan and project documents. Every other documents associated with a project, for example, the risk register, the stakeholder register, the lesson learned documents, all those other documents are called project documents. But all the management plans that are being created in each of the knowledge area, they are called management plan. All of them are embedded inside project management plan. And in that project management plan, you have schedule management plan, the one that deal with the schedule, scope management plan, the one that deal with the scope, cost management plan, the one that deals with the cost management, so forth, through the 10 knowledge areas. So under planning, that is where you break down the work scope and create a work breakdown structures. We'll be dealing with that tomorrow when we'll be talking about scope management. You select and you define the project team roles. Who are the teams of the project? Who are the stakeholders? Who are the people that are going? The teams, project team is different from stakeholders. Project teams are members of stakeholders, but stakeholders are not members, may not be members of project team. Any team member is automatically a stakeholder in the project, but not all stakeholders are project teams. The project teams are the people that are directly involved in the execution of the project. And there is also difference between project team and project management team. Take note, it's also common in the exam. Project team are the direct people who are directly in touch with the project, that the one that are doing the work actually. But the project management teams, the project management teams are the people who oversee the project teams. So that is the difference between project team and project management team. The aspect of project team that oversee the other teams, they are called the project management team. They are the one that control the PMO, the project management office. They are the one that regulate all the activities in the project management office. It is also at this point that we develop project schedule, you will develop budgeting and quality standard, identify also high-level risk, and create a risk response plan, which is another detailed risk registers. So all the planning stage is that is why planning all take about 25% of the total process groups. So a lot of all the work is be done during planning. Please note one word. Planning is an iterative process. Note that. You can note that down. Planning is an iterative process in the sense that it is an ongoing process. Because anytime you go into during project execution, if there is any error that is being identified, you correct the error, then you have to come back again to the project management plan document and update it. That is why it is an ongoing iterative process. It's a continual process. Even at the monitoring and control point, when you discover an issue during monitoring and control, then you report it to the PMO office. Then the session of the plan, if it is a quality issue, the quality management plan will be updated. If it is a risk issue, the risk management plan will be updated. If it is a procurement issue, the procurement management plan will be updated. So that is why planning is also is always an iterative process. It's also common in exam. They may say planning is dash. One, a detailed project end, or two, iterative. Three, constant, once and for all. Note that it is an iterative process. Now, let's go to executing. When all the detailed planning has been done, creating, you will see when we go down a little bit today, you'll see what is being done under all the knowledge area, what is being done in each of those sessions also. When the planning stage is now being completed, you now give the work to the contractor and the execution starts. In the execution stage, that is where you will now complete the work package, perform quality assurance, acquire and develop project team, organize team building activity, vendor solicitation and selection, implement, approve, change and defect repair, project meeting and creative status. So this is where all the things you have been, all the documents you have been created, everything are now be put to use. That is why you see that hiring a team member is also an execution. You are trying to execute the process of hiring. So all the activity that you are not trying to put in what are being documented during the planning stage into actual performance, that is when you are now executing. It's also a very high level. I think it's even 32% during the in weight. It's 32% in weight. It's even higher than planning. So after the during the executing stage, that is when monitoring and controlling will now take place. The question is, what is monitoring and control? Who can tell me among us? Who can tell me the difference between monitoring and control? Is there anybody? The difference between monitoring and control is very common in a project under exam condition. So it is even the monitoring and control process that help, if you understand what is monitoring and you understand what is controlling, in fact, you will be able to answer 10 questions automatically during control, during this session. So when we talk about monitoring is a process base. You know, when you are carrying out the project management, there are processes you will pass through. Okay, somebody wants to say something before? Okay, let me continue. So there are many processes you have to pass through during the course of planning, during the course of executions. So looking at the process to see what if, for example, project management plan, the process of risk register is identify the risk, assess the risk, analyze the risk, response to the risk, accrue the risk. You will now see, is that the process that is being followed in implementing the risk register? So when the process is different, when you are looking at the process, that is monitoring. But when you are looking at the result, that is controlling. For example, you are on site.
No. Hold on.
You are on site. I'm coming. Let me try and mute everybody. You are on site. you are being asked to use 12 rod for reinforcement. During monitoring and control, you discover that 8 rod is being used. You can see that the result you achieve is different from the proposed result. The proposed result is to use 12 rod. The person end up using 8 rods. There is difference in the result. So an attempt to look into the end result of a project to see whether the expected result is what is actually achieved is what we call controlling. But when you are looking at the process to see whether the documented process is what is being followed is what we call monitoring. For example, when auditors in your companies are auditing your process, during ISO, if your company are ISO certified, during ISO, you see some auditor will come, they will be looking at the process the company is being adopted. So that type of audit is called monitoring. They are not control, they are monitoring. That is different between monitoring and control. At this point, you measure performance against the baseline. You recommend preventive reactive action. You ensure quality control. You implement control change. This is where change management plan is being adopted. Then you identify root causes of any issue and you apply a resolution. So during this monitoring and control, this is where you carry out all the changes. It is this session you recommend for a change. And when there is a change, you report it to the project control department. When they look at it and they say it's okay, the change is okay, the change will be officially communicated to all the stakeholders. When it is approved, they will not go back to the planning stage and alter the project management plan. And that is why you can see that you can identify problem here, go back to the planning or update the document. That is why planning is always interactive. So at this point, Crozier carry 8% in weight. At this point, this is where you are now accepting the project. You accept the project at this point. This is at the point of obtaining acceptance by the line customers or the sponsor to formally closing the project. At this point, you complete contract closures or the pending money you pay them out. You update all the lesson learned database. You archive project record in the project management information system. Then you perform these PMIs, project management information system, perform team members assessment, and release project resources. When you finally close out your project, the end point of it is that you must archive all the project records. That is project repository. Those are the project lesson learned. In times you want to carry out a similar project, you will just go into the updated database, pull out any lesson learned, and know how you are going to tackle this current project you want to embark upon, the next one. So when you finally finish everything, you release your project and you close your project. And the project is gone, is gone. That is why we said earlier that a project is a temporary endeavor, a unique and temporary endeavor that has the beginning and it must have an end. When there is no an end to a project, it's no longer a project, it is called an operation. That is the difference between operation and a project. Why a operation is indefinitely, it's a continual process. Project has beginning and an end. So these are the process group, initiating, planning, and this. Process group in details. So I have already dealt with the different process group. Initiative process group, I have already explained them. Then the planning process group, I have already explained them. You can see this is where you develop the project management plan, you develop scope management plan, collect requirement, define scope, create work breakdown structure, do all the different management plan, quality, resources, risk, procurement, communication, stakeholders, all of them. are being done under planning. So the slogan in planning is that planning without action is futile. Action without planning is fatal. If you are planning and there is no action to embark on the plan on the project, it's as useless as any other thing. It will just become a mirage, like a form of a dream. But when you take action without planning, it's going to be very deadly. So that is why, as a project manager, always plan before action and don't action anything without planning. Then we talk about the process group, the executive process group. This is where you direct and manage the project, acquire resources, manage team, conduct procurement, implement risk. We have all of this. So I even shared the PMBOK with you. PMBOK is the current project management document that is being used. There is also one I will share with you tomorrow, which is the RITA. If you read only the PMBOK, you will not be able to pass the exam. It will be difficult for you. Reading the PMBOK will make you to you cram the reading. But when you read Rita, whether you have an experience before or not, when you are reading it, it will look like as if you are already a project manager. So Rita's book is experience based, while PMBOK is cramming based. It's what you just cram it's like you cram. But under exam condition, you don't cram. When you cram, you fail it. You have to understand it. That is why project management exam is very difficult. You don't cram, because almost all the questions, they are all scenario based. What they will be asking you is, what will the project what will the project manager do? What will the project manager do next? Those are just the questions. There is no place they will ask you, what is project? What is this? No, 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 no. They may define a project for you, but they will omit some things like unique, temporary, start time, and end time. Now we have discussed the closure. A project manager should not look at where he failed, but where he sleeps. What does this one mean? If you finally fail on a project, it's not that point where you fail that matters. It is where you sleep today. You sleep from somewhere. That is where you are not doing something right. You fail to identify that point. If you identify your sleeping step early, you will not be able to fall. That is why the project manager must put his eyes on the project at all times. Always know when issues is arising. Always know when project is not going on well, and quickly apply a measure to put the project into the normal route. Project success factor. You must make the right choice of the project manager with leadership and technical skill, as well as a fresher. Create a clear scope and objective. You must know what you want to achieve. If your scope is not clear, the project will look clumsy. You will not know the direction, you will not know where you are going. You must have a clear goal. This is where I'm going. So you will know the route to take to get there. Properly staff project team, role and responsibility, stakeholders identified and involved at the early stage. It's also common in exam. Note this. At what stage in the project are stakeholders need to be involved? At the early stage of the project. That is why they are being identified during initiative stage. Then identify risk, correctly analyze the risk and mitigate them. Then good communication, those are the success factors. You can read those ones. Now, causes of project failure. What really makes a project to fail? What makes a project to fail is what we call this three triple constraint. Before, up to PMBOK 5, it is called the three triple constraint. In the sense that we have the time here, we have the cost here, we have the scope here. Anything that affects the time will definitely affect the cost and the scope. Anything that affects the cost will affect the other two. Anything that affects, if you allow scope script to come in, is going to affect this and this. Scope script is a process of allowing on activities that are not initially planned to be coming into the project, and you are accepting them. Now, what it means is that when your project is on time and is on budget and is restricted to the scope of the work and nothing else, you are going to achieve a better quality of that project. But up to PM Box 6, which is the current PM Box that is being used, it has been modified from the 3 triple constraint to the 4 constraint. It is no longer like a diamond sheet. It's no longer like a triangular sheet. It's not like a diamond sheet. In that case, you will have time, you will have cost, you will have scope, you will have quality. At the center will now become the best practice. So if you follow time, you follow the right quality, you follow the right cost, you are limited to the approved scope of work, then you will achieve the best practice of a project management. So we are through with the first set of the first segment of the training. And when we finish this, maybe I give a little 2 minutes for us or 3 minutes for us to interface question here. Then we move to the next step, which is project management, project management knowledge area. So far with this first segment of the training, do you have any question here now? Then we move to the knowledge area. We just have like 2 minutes to answer any question here before we move to the next one. And we also take like 3 minutes, 5 minutes to move around before we start to the next session. So do we have any questions so far? So that we just follow the process together.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hello, sir.
I can hear you.
Hello, sir.
I'm hearing you.
Can you explain that matrix?
Okay.
Can you do a small explanation of the matrix that we just had now?
This one.
The triangle, but there's a matrix
Okay.
by the side. Yes. Can you do a
okay. Now we are now into project failure. You see, what really makes a project to fail is this 3 sessions: the time, the cost, and the scope. Why are they called the 3 triple constraint? Is because anything that affects the time of your project is going to increase the cost of that project. It will go to affect the scope of the work. Anything that affects the cost will affect the time and the scope. What it means that anyone that affects any of those 3, this time, the cost, and the scope, the quality is not among them. The quality is not among them. The time, the cost, and the scope. Anything that affects one affects the other 2. That is why they are called triple constraint. But these terms, they now say that, but by the time you are on time, you are on budget, you are on scope, you will get a good quality project. But after detailed review, this was adopted up to PM Box 5. So as from PM Box 6, they now change it from the 3 triple constraint to now 4 constraints. In that case, they now add, it's not like a diamond. It's not like a diamond shape, like a quadrilateral 4 edge. In that 4 edge, you will now have the time, the cost, the scope, and the quality. So what appear at the center is now best practice. The concern is that when you are on time, you are on budget, you are limited to the scope that is being approved, and you work with the quality that is being documented, you will end up with the best management practice, and that project is going to be the best project. So that is how it is. So the time, the cost, and the qualities all of them affect the projects. So that is the difference between these 3 triple constraint and the 4 triple constraint. So the 4 triple constraint is not being adopted. Anytime you are now saying which of the following constraint affect a project, know that quality is not among them. It's not time, cost, scope, and quality. Thank you very much. I hope it's clear. So any other question before we go on break?
Yeah, on the what is it, monitoring and control, you kind of like explained a little bit about the difference between them. End result is achieved by control, and then monitoring, what is that?
Okay. In monitoring, what you are when you are the difference between monitoring and control is these 2 ways. Monitoring is process based. You are looking at the process of organization. Every organization has their process of achieving any task. That is why we have what we call standard organizational SOP. They call it SOP, standard operational performance, standard organizational performance. Yes, SOP. So in that SOP, the process you will follow to achieve your task will always be documented. So when auditor now comes, the auditor will be looking at the process to see that whether what you document down is what you are actually following, whether the process you said this is what I'm going to follow. For example, I want to write PMP exam. I will buy the book. I will start reading like this. I will start doing like this. I will start doing like this. Then I will write the exam. It's a process. So when I come, I try to see whether what you have documented down, that is what you are following. I now discover that you have not even purchased the book. You are saying you are already trying to be reading. So you have derailed for the process laid down. So the process laid down, when you are trying to see whether the process is in order, that is called monitoring. But controlling is result-based. Result now means that the end product of your process, the end product of your process is a result. So the end product of your process is in conformance with what we plan to do. For example, if we follow the process of purchasing a reinforcement on site, we'll be able to cast this slab effectively. So on site, we now discover that instead of using 12 mm rod, we are now using 8 mm rod. So the result now, the quality of the slab is now impaired because we have used 12 mm instead of 8, we have used 8 mm instead of 12 mm. So there is now deviation from the result we are expecting. So that process is what we call controlling. You are not telling them, no, remove it. Don't use 8 mm, go and use 12 mm. You are not controlling that project. So that is the difference between monitoring and control. Monitoring is a process-based, while controlling is result-based. So any other question for now? So at this point, we will go on break for like 5 minutes. This is 4:44. By 4:45, we will come back again and start the next module, so that it's not good for elderly people to sit for long. So just move around, can drink water, stretch your waist, then we come back again the next 5 minutes. Thank you very much. Hello, can you hear me? Okay, I can see we are all back.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. Now let's continue. As we have five process groups, which are initiation, planning, execution, monitoring and control, and closure. We also have 10 knowledge areas. This 10 knowledge area, your knowledge will be tried in all these 10 knowledge area under exam condition. 1, project integration management, project scope management, project schedule management, project cost management, project quality management, resources management, communication management, risk management, and procurement management, and stakeholder management. So those are the 3 different knowledge areas. And each of these knowledge area, there is always a document produced, which is integration management plan, scope management plan, schedule management plan. All these management plan are being embedded inside the project management plan. That is why I said earlier that the project management plan is the master plan that consists of all other management plans. Now let's be looking at each of them one after the other. So we'll just look at them as a general overview of all of them. So by tomorrow, we will be digressing deep into the most difficult section of them, the scope management, especially the scheduling. And I think most of the people that are here, they have attended my cost management training before. Anybody who attended my cost management training, so you don't need anything again in the cost management. So you have covered everything in the cost management. But for the sake of those who have not attended that training, I think I will discuss the ones that are related to project management. Then we will deal extensively tomorrow on schedule management, where we'll be carrying out scheduling, network diagram, using critical path method, using path method, the Gantt chart. We'll be using that tomorrow. Then we will talk about resources also. Another thing we discuss extensively is risk management. Then we will discuss extensively procurement. So the other ones are just theory. You can read, maybe stakeholder communication, which other one? Maybe quality also. So let me mute so that it will not interfere with the noise. Now let's go to project initiation. The primary role of a project manager is to perform project integration management, which is to pull all the various pieces of project together into a cohesive role. Please take note of this definition. It's common in exam also, that the major function of a project manager is project integration, management. It may come it's an objective question. A might be project coordinating, project monitoring, project closure, project integration. So in project management exam, all the answers will be correct. Option A to D will be correct, but they are looking at the most accurate answer. That is why it's very difficult. So the major role of a project manager is to perform project integration. Integration means you are pulling all the whole resources, all the whole pieces of the project together into a cohesive whole. It is the balancing of the other process in the knowledge area. We have this 10 knowledge area. You can see the first one is the project integration. So the project integration is the coordination of all the other 9 all the other 9 processes. The process of coordinating all these other 9 into a cohesive whole is what we refer to as project integration management. You can see that under exam, it might be monitoring, what is the major role of a project manager? Monitoring and control. They are limiting themselves to only the monitoring and control aspect of it. Or project coordinator, they are limiting themselves. But when it is now a project integration, it means that you are integrating all the other 9 knowledge area into a cohesive whole. That is why it is called project integration. You integrate all the other processes. So now the integration management process consists of these 6 roles. These 6 roles are being performed under project integration. 1, develop the project chapter. I said today, the project chapter is a document that authorizes the project manager to go ahead with the project. It is drafted by the project manager and approved by the project sponsor. Approved by the project sponsor, but documented, drafted by the project manager. So when is it done? It is done under initiation process group. We have seen it today. The next thing under integration management process is to develop project management plan. Project management plan, as we have discussed, is the master plan consisting of all the plans of all other management groups, like the scope management plan, the cost management plan, the risk management plan, all these other management plan. A single document documenting all of them is called the project management plan. When is it done? It is being done during planning stage. It is during planning we carry out the project, we develop this project management plan. The next work to be done during integration, you can see, if you see it, if you check everything to be done under integration, you will see that these are all the functions of a project manager that cuts across all the whole 5 process group. You develop a project chapter, that is initiating. You develop project management plan, that is a planning stage. You direct and manage project work. That is done during executing. That is where the coordination comes into. You coordinate, you direct, you manage. So that is done during executing. It is when the project is big going on that you supervise. In other words, you call this supervise. You are supervising. When do you supervise? Is during execution. So it's an executing process group. The next one is manage project group knowledge. This one is also done under executive project process group. The other one is, that is why we call it direct and manage. These 2 can go together. These 2 can even go together. The difference between them now is that you are managing the work, you are managing the knowledge. So the other one is monitor and control project work. Monitoring and control is done during monitoring and controlling process group. Perform integrated change control. Everything, any changes that is being discovered during the project progress and anything that want to be altered must be referred to this department. Perform integrated change control, which is being coordinated by the PMIS, Project Management Information System. Those are the body that regulate this perform integrated change control. There must be integrated change control. Why is it called integrated change? In the sense that you try to change one thing, maybe during the execution. That change is affecting another document in the planning stage. That thing may alter another document during monitoring and control. So all the changes that arises during the course of trying to change one, you integrate all of them together. That is why even during risk analysis, you may try to implement a response to a risk. In trying to do that, another risk will come out. That is called the secondary risk. We have primary risk, which is the actual identified risk. But when you are trying to respond to primary risk, it might trigger another risk out of it, which is called secondary risk. So all those changes must be performed under perform integrated change control, and the body responsible for it is the PMI's body, which is the Project Management Information System. When you perform this change control, then you close project or phase. This is the closing process group. You can see that in the integration stage, all the 5 process groups are being mentioned: initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and control, then closing. So that is why it is the balancing of all the other process groups in the body of knowledge. That is integration. Though it can also come out under exam. Which of the following activities are not being performed under other project integration system? They will bring out which of the followings are not being performed during project integration management process. They will list maybe 3 of these. They will put another thing. So we should master them, and they are in sequential. They are in order. Develop project chapter. The next thing, you develop project management plan. The next one, you direct and manage the work. You also manage the knowledge. You monitor and control the project work. You perform integrated change control, then you close the project. Now, the next one after integration, the next one is scope management. What is scope? Scope involves you try to determine what works is required to complete a project, and ensuring, I use that word, and ensuring that only those work are being carried out. That is why they say, and only if, and only that scope. It must be only, nothing else. Do what is exactly in the scope of work and nothing else. There is a question that can come up like this. Your client has given you a scope of work to be done, and you start carry out the process. In the middle of the process, your client arrives and inform you that there is additional work to be added to the work. You said you don't have time to do that. Then you will complete what is exactly in the scope that was originally assigned. And when you finish, your client is angry, and he said the project is not being completed. The question is the project actually completed or not? As soon as you finish, you produce exactly what is in the agreed scope, whether there are external work that is to be done, but you refuse to do it, that project has been completed. If you accept it and you fail to do it, that is when the project is no longer accepted. But if you don't accept it and you perform exactly what is in the original scope, that project has been completed. That is why do exactly what is in the scope of work and nothing else. No gold plating is allowed in scope management. I use the word gold plating. Gold plating is you allow unnecessary activity to creep into the scope. It might also be called scope creep. When your scope is creeping, it means that you are deviating from the originally agreed scope. The objective is to prevent, the objective is to prevent scope creep as much as possible on the project. What are the work you carry out during scope management process? During scope management process, the activity that you normally carry out are you plan scope management. When you plan this scope management and it's done during planning, and you come up with a singular document that is called scope management plan. You collect requirements what are the requirements we need to carry out this project? And it's also done during planning stage. At the end, you end up with a document called requirement document. This is where you define the scope. What are we to do? What exactly are we going to do? That is scope definition. When you define the scope, it's also done during planning. You can see that in scope management, almost everything under scope management are being done during the planning stage. That is where you develop the scope management plan. That is where you develop the requirement management plan. That is where you define your scope. That is where you create your work breakdown structure, WBS. A work breakdown structure is a hierarchical disintegration or a hierarchical breaking down of work scope into activities. When you break down your work scope into the lowest level of activity, that is called work breakdown structure. If you break down your cost to the lowest level of each activity, it is called cost breakdown structure. If you break down the risk to each level of activity, it is called risk breakdown structure. And when you break out human resources team that will do each of the activity, that is called resources breakdown structure. So when you plan scope management, when you collect the requirement, when you define your scope, and you create your work breakdown structure, we will see how to create work breakdown structure tomorrow. And the next, you validate your scope. Scope validation is done during monitoring and control. What is scope validation? Scope validation is a checking process. It's a process of you trying to compare what is in the scope and what is actually being done. When what is in the scope is what is being done on ground, your scope is well validated. But when there is a variation in the work scope as against work plan, as against what is on the ground, there is a variance. And that variance will give rise to monitoring and control. What are we going to do? We are seeing variance in the process. We are seeing variance in the result. What are we going to do? That is validation. You are trying to checkmate what is being planned as against what is being done. After validating the scope, you control the scope. When you now discover that there is variance in the validation process, then you quickly apply a control measure to bring it back to the normal route. So all these processes are in sequential order. These are the activity that is being done under scope management processes. Plan, scope management, you collect requirement, you define the scope, you create work breakdown structure, you validate the scope, you control the scope. The two documents that are popularly created at this stage is scope management plan that is being created during the scope management, and the requirement management plan that is being created during collect requirement. And you can see that it is only planning and monitoring that process group that are being involved in during scope management. It's only planning and monitoring. The next one, we go to schedule management. Schedule management includes all the processes required in timely completion of the project. Even though scheduling software are often used, the project manager must not entirely rely on them, as they can be misleading if the unique nature of other processes are not taken into account. Because software is garbage in, is garbage out. The ability to use a software is not what really matters, but the ability to interpret the results. Because you might just run your input into the software, generate the result. If there is an error, you should be able to understand or know where and why the error has occurred. So critical path method and network diagram are some of the tools used in schedule management. We will not be dealing with this calculation today. Tomorrow, we reserve tomorrow for calculation of scheduling. So under scheduling, what the process, the activity that are being done under scheduling are: one, plan schedule management. When you plan how you are going to manage your schedule, you will come up with a document that is called schedule management plan, and is being done during planning. After that, you define activities. Activities are what makes up the scope. The lowest level of a group of related activities, the work package, is the lowest level of activities. So the activities are each of the work you want to carry out. Then, when you now define your activities, these are the work I need to do. A, B, C, D, E, F. These are the activities I must carry out. After defining your activity, you sequence the activity. Sequencing the activity means, how are we going to perform the work? Are we going to perform A before B? Are we going to perform B before C? That is where task dependency will now come into play. Well, I will be showing you that one tomorrow. I will maybe also show you a sample of it in a MS project. After sequencing the activity, you now try to estimate activity duration. How many hours are we going to use for each of these activities? That is activity duration. You estimate it. It's also done during planning. Develop schedule. When you now finish estimating the duration, you will now develop the schedule. Developing the schedule is now try to arrange the activity in sequence, assigning their duration, and know the critical part. Which part is the longest part? Which activities are on the critical part? Why are we even calling them critical activities? And and after that, you will control the schedule. You will now be monitoring and controlling the schedule to ensure you are not behind schedule. So you can see that under schedule management, with everything there is almost planning. It's only during control that we have monitoring and control. And when you want to estimate activity duration, there are two formulas you will use in estimating them. These are this is the triangular distribution, and this is the beta distribution. We will be discussing this during cost management tomorrow, where we will be discussing different methods of estimating. You can use any of this formula to estimate your activity duration. But why are they different? This is triangular distribution. This is beta distribution. This triangular distribution is used when you don't have more. This triangular distribution is what you use when you don't have more information about the project. When you don't have detailed information to carry out the estimating, you use this triangular distribution, which assign the weight to each of them equally. This is the pessimistic, this is the most likely, this is the optimistic. This is the pessimistic, this is the most likely, this is the optimistic. So you just take the average of the three. But in beta distribution, you know more about the project. More information about the project is being known. And as a result, you now assign weight, a higher weight to the most likely. You are saying the pessimistic, the optimistic, but the most likely is 4. You are assigning more weight to the most likely. So pessimistic means everything goes worse, on the worst condition, what will happen. Optimistic is everything goes well, what will happen. Most likely is in middle between the two, not too well, not too good. That is what is called most likely. And they are called 3-point estimating. Why is it called 3-point estimating? Is because you use 3 points to estimate the process, which is pessimistic, most likely, and optimistic. Know when you use each of them. This triangular distribution is used when more information about the project is not known. This beta distribution is used when you know more information about the project. So we'll be talking more about that during and show you example during cost estimation. So this formula can be used in estimating activity duration. The same formula can also be used in estimating cost. The next one is cost management. The project cost management includes the process involved in planning, estimating, budgeting, financing, funding, managing, and controlling costs so the project can be completed within budget. So in cost management process, 4 processes are being followed. 4 processes are being followed. 1, plan, cost management, and they are in this order. They are in this order: plan, cost management, and you will end up creating a document that is called cost management plan. It's a planning group. Estimate cost. This is where you carry out cost estimating. It's also planning. Determine budget. This is where you determine the budget. It's also planning. Then you control cost. So there is difference between estimate cost and budget. We will talk about that one tomorrow when we'll be discussing project cost management in detail. Now, in this cost management, you will not be, there are some calculations you will do, which I will reserve for tomorrow so that I will show you how to calculate them. You will be calculating what is cost variance, schedule variance, cost performance index, schedule performance index, estimate at completion. I have a detailed work for it. Tomorrow we'll be discussing all this. So you will know what is the meaning. And you, at the end of tomorrow, you will not cram. You will no longer cram them. You will know what they mean. And I think those who attended the cost management plan, the cost management training, like QS Adenike, I think which other person, and I think there is Andrew, there is another person. I think there are 3 people who were in the cost management training. So all those ones will not be a problem to them. They all know all those ones before. Now we go to quality. Quality is the degree to which a project fulfills its requirement. I will concentrate here and digress a little bit more detail. Quality is the degree to which a project fulfills its requirements. When the requirement of a project is being met, quality is already guaranteed. For example, a tailor will give you a cloth, and the tailor will ask you to say, please sew this cloth exactly like this. And in the course of sewing the cloth, immediately you finish the cloth, the customer came and said, oh, I'm sorry. You would have put some design at the back of this hand. You would have put a design at the back of this hand, and the customer is not happy. Whether the customer is happy or not, quality has been met, because the requirement the customer gave to you is what you have already given to him. So as soon as requirement is being fulfilled, quality is being guaranteed. And that is why we said, do not go ahead and boilerplate your requirement so as to meet your customer expectation. Some company will put it in their mission statement. Their goal is to meet and exceed customer expectation or customer requirement. It's a wrong statement. You don't exceed customer expectation. You don't exceed customer requirement. You meet customer requirement. What customer gives to you to fulfill for him, when you meet that requirement, quality is guaranteed. Because quality comes with a cost. When you are trying to create give more quality to a particular product, a time will come, whether you are increasing the quality of that product, the client is not even interested in it again. It's okay. Okay, I know you can do more, but just give me this one. I'm okay with this. But when you are trying to give extra, which is like gold plating, it will come with extra costs. And that is what we call the cost of quality. Who will not bear that cost of quality? That is why we have what we call marginal analysis. Marginal analysis is an ability of a project manager to know the point in time at which quality can no longer be exceeded. When you are trying to exceed it, you are improving your performance. You are improving your performance. Your customer is responding to it. Oh, this product is improving in quality. Fine. You increase the cost. They buy it. But a point will come when you are, even though you are trying to increase the quality of the product, they are no longer interested. If you increase the quality more than that certain limit, and cost of quality increase correspondingly, the client will not buy from you again. Then you will run out of the market. So as a project manager, you should be able to know that point in time at which you cannot exceed your quality. That point is what we call the marginal point. And it is that point at which the marginal revenue is equal to the marginal cost. If you exceed that point, the marginal cost will exceed the marginal revenue, and you'll be running into debt. So that is quality management system. So and quality management system must meet all stakeholders' expectation. When one of the stakeholders disagree of the requirement, it doesn't meet the expectation again. That is why when setting the quality of a project, all the stakeholders must be involved. That is what we call stakeholder engagement. You must engage all the host stakeholders. But if you fail to engage an important stakeholder earlier enough in the project, is going to cause a major problem during execution and monitoring. So that is why stakeholders identification is being done during project initiation. And you advance more maybe during project planning, and it's an iterative process. But it is better you identify your stakeholder earlier enough during your project. Now, we have what we call cost of conformance and cost of non-conformance. The cost of conformance is the cost you bear when you try to fulfill the requirement of the quality. There is also a cost that you bear when you fail to adhere to the requirement of the project. There are two. When you meet with the requirement and quality is okay, there are costs you bear. When you still fail to meet up with the requirement, there is also a cost you bear. That cost of conformance is what we call quality training. For your team to perform excellently in terms of quality, they must have excellent quality training. And quality training comes with a cost. You know how much you are paying for this training. Also, study. You study. You create time to study and learn more. Measuring quality of interim deliverables, customer satisfaction survey, effort to ensure everyone knows the process. But when the cost of non-conformance, you are not doing it right at the first time, the cost you are going to bear is cost of rework. So this is not what we ask you to do. Go and redo it. Rework comes with a cost. Scrap, inventory cost, warranty cost, loss of business. These are the costs that comes with non-conformance. Please take note of them. It's also common under exam. Which of the following costs is not a cost of conformance? They will bring three of these. They will add scrap to it. So you will automatically know is scrap. Now, the processes followed under project quality management are plan quality management. When you plan this quality management, you are coming up with a singular document that is called quality management plan. It's a planning group. 2, you manage quality. In this management of quality, that is where we call quality assurance and quality control. You have heard of those two words. Quality assurance and quality control, QA/QC. And I told you today that monitoring and control, I told you today, monitoring and control. The difference between the two today. Quality assurance is the same thing as managing quality. Quality control is the same thing as controlling quality. When you are quality assurance is you are ensuring that what the process that is followed is okay and is done during executing. Quality control is what is done during you are trying to monitor and controlling the process, but controlling now is now restricted to only this control because you are looking at the result. But managing quality is also called quality assurance. How you will know the difference is managed quality is also quality assurance, while control quality is also called quality control, which is QA, QC. So these are what is being done under quality management process. Then we go to the next stage, which is project resources management. When we talk of when we talk about resources, what we are referring it to, resources is not limited to only human beings that are being used. Resources can be equipment you are using. Resources can also be human being you are using. Resources can also be money you are using. That is why it's no longer restricted to as human resources. Before, it is human resources management, but it's not changed to resources management because resources can be equipment resources management, machinery, and it can be human resources management, which are people's, and it can also be called cost resources, money resources management process. But in the cost of this training here, it is restricted to human resources management. So this project resources management include the process to identify, acquire, manage the resources needed for the successful completion of the project. The equipment, the money, and the human being. So the process follows are human resources management, human resources management. The first step there is plan resources management. And you will come up with a document called resources management plan. After that, you come with estimate activity resources. You can see we carry out estimate of activity duration during scheduling, and we are estimating activity resources in resources management, and we estimate cost during cost. So these estimate activity resources, you will come up with a document and estimate resources. How much do you need to carry out these activities? That is the resources in terms of human being, in terms of equipment, in terms of money. Then after that, you acquire the resources. How can you acquire the people that are going to work with you? How are you going to acquire the equipment you are going to use? How are you going to acquire the fund you are going to use? That is acquire the resources. Then after that, you develop the team. The human being you are going to use on the equipment, the human being you are going to use on the project, you try to develop them. Developing a team is a process of you try to train them, give them the requisite tools to work with, the tools they need, the resources, the training they need, and the fund they need. That is, you are trying to develop, train, and prepare them for the project. That is the develop team. They are under executing. Then after that, you manage the team. How are you managing the human being you have on site? That is manage resources. You are managing the team. After that, you control the resources. These steps must be in sequential order. Plan, resources management, estimate activity resources, acquire resources. So the estimate methodology we use during scheduling can also be used here, which is the 3-point estimating. The beta and the triangular estimate can also be used here. Then you develop the team, you manage the team, you control the team. You can see that during resources management, we have planning group, we have executive group, we have monitoring and control. And we have what in managing team, there are some theories that are being given by different philosophers in how, if you are trying to manage the team, how do you manage the team? That is where theory S and theory Y now come into play. We have what we call theory S and theory Y. They are theory that are being used to manage team. What did theory S, Ox, theory Ox and theory Y? Theory Ox says that naturally human beings are very lazy. Until you force them to work, they will never do anything. Theory Ox believe in dictatorial tendency, meaning anarchy, meaning you have to use force to force people to work. Otherwise, they will not work. That is what theory Ox says. Theory Y now says, no, it doesn't work like that. When you motivate your employee very well, give them self-motivation, you don't need to supervise them. They know what to do right from their mind. It's like you have a project team. Whenever they go to site, when they are coming home today, they will come with money. There are some money they will get. Maybe the client gives them some money, or the manager on site, or the project, there is a float for motivation. The manager on site will say, oh, thank you very much for what you have done today. Yeah, you have done an excellent job. I'm going to give you people like 5,000 naira for your transport and for your food. Believe me, if you fix work on Saturday, those team members will like to come to work on Saturday, because they know when they come back to work on Saturday, they will still get something like 5,000 naira to take home. But if they come to site, you are not even interested whether they have eaten, you are not even interested about their family matter, you are not even interested whether you are just, you do this, if you don't do, I will sack you. If you don't do this, I fire you. You must do this. You are using theory Ox. That project is heading towards failure. The project team can decide to pull out from the project at any time along the project. But when you are able to motivate them by applying theory Y, which says that human beings are not naturally lazy, they don't have a natural dislike for work. When they are motivated well, they will be able to perform better. Your project will be going on well. Also, the theory of Abraham Maslow that used the hierarchy of needs. That human beings have different types of needs at different times in life. That until those needs are met one after the other, team cannot be effectively be managed. It's like a project, a team is on site. The first need you have to look at that team is the physiological needs of that team. Has he eaten? Is there water for him to drink? Is he wearing the right PPE? Is he wearing the right project PPE? Is there any project site for them? When they are satisfied with this, they are not even interested in all these big ones. The project can be going on. That is why whenever you eat to your satisfaction, even when a child is playing with you, is even insulting you, is even throwing stone at you, you will not even react because you have eaten to your feet. But whenever you are angry, whenever you are hungry, a little child will just pass you and mistakenly touch your toe. The next thing, you will want to kill that child because you are hungry. That is why Maslow now says, no, there are some hierarchy of needs that needs to be met one after the other to guarantee the safety management of a project team. Those are the physiological needs, safety need, social need, esteem need, and self-actualization. And they must be in order. So this self-actualization be the highest one in the hierarchy of need, physiological needs is the lowest. It can also come up in exam. Which of the following is in the hierarchy of needs in Maslow hierarchy of needs pyramid? They will remove self-actualization. They will bring maybe 3 of these, 4 of these. You should know that even though self-actualization is the highest one, but since it's not included in the option, the next one should be the highest option. That is why they trick all the question. So we'll talk more about this next tomorrow. The next one is communication management. How do you communicate in your project? In project management, communication is 95%. Communication takes most of the activities in project. If there is no effective communication on a project, that project is already headed towards doom. That is why they said that if for a project success, which of the following should be given high priority? The answer is communication. It's also very common in exam. Which of the following will be given high priority during project management? Communication is 95%. So any failure of a business, of a project, is as a result of ineffective communication. That is why one of the slogans we read today says that it is not where you fail that matters in a project. It is where you sleep. Where you sleep and there is no proper communication, that there is a slippage at this point, and you allow it to go, then there will be problem later. So project communication management includes the process required to ensure timely and appropriate planning, collection, creation, distribution, storage, retrieval, management, controlling, monitoring, and ultimate disposition of information. Information must be available at all time and when needed. It must be at the disposal of those who need them, because lack of information will lead to lack of proper planning. Lack of information will lead to lack of proper monitoring and control, and all these things can derail a project. So the process you follow under project communication management are plan communication management. This is what communication processes are we going to use? What communication channel are we going to use? How are we going to get across all the stakeholders in the project? After that, you will come up with a singular document that is called communication management plan. After that, you manage communication. Manage communication is how are you putting all the process into practice. Then after that, you monitor the communication. Are we communicating the way as planned? Are we communicating through the channel we documented? Are we following the communication management plan as planned? Those are the managed communication. And we have what we call communication channel. And the communication channel is a function of stakeholders in a project and is common in exam question. The question is, the communication channels are the routes of communication you need to pass through for information to be perfectly disseminated. And it's a function of the numbers of stakeholders in that project. If you have 5 stakeholders in a project, the question is, how many communication channels do you have? Communication channel is n bracket n minus 1, everything divided by 2, where n is the numbers of stakeholders. So if the numbers of stakeholders is 5, the correct channel, it will not be 5 bracket 5 minus 1, which is 4. 4 times 5, 20. 20 divided by 2 is 10. So when the stakeholders is 5, if the stakeholders are 5, you have 10 communication channels to pass through for the information to get across all the stakeholders. If your stakeholders are 2, you will now have 2 bracket 2 minus 1, 1 1 times 2 will be 2. 2 divided by 2, 1. You have 1 communication channel. So this is the formula you use to calculate communication channel as a function of the numbers of stakeholders on that project. And it's also common on that exam condition. You note it. Now, the other one is project risk management, and we are going to deal with this extensively tomorrow. Risk is the most important aspect of projects. When project, what is the purpose of risk management? Is to make sure you are not behind schedule. Is to make sure cost is not overrun. Is to ensure quality is not being impaired. Is to ensure that there is no scope creep. You can see these are the 4 triple constraints: the time, the cost, the scope, and the quality. So risk management plan include the process of conducting risk management planning, identification, analyzing, responding, and implementing the response. It involves identifying, evaluating, and planning response to both positive and negative risk. One thing I want to tell you now is, what is even a risk? A risk is uncertainty in a project. A risk is not always negative. It's not always a bad thing. Risk can be positive, it can be negative. A negative risk is called threat, while a positive risk is called opportunity. When you see a threat, you try to avoid, you try to minimize. But when you see opportunity, which is a positive risk, you try to exploit. So tomorrow extensively, we'll be dealing with the different stages in risk management, which is, the first one is to plan risk management. Planning risk management means you plan all the activities, all the process involved in carrying out risk management. And you end up with a document called risk management plan. After that, you go to identify risk. When you begin to identify your risk, you will end at risk identification is you trying to identify all the inherent risk on that project, both positive and negative. And the risk identification, you will end up with one document that is called risk register. Maybe I will show you the document later before we go. When you now have your risk register, the next thing is you want to perform qualitative risk analysis. Qualitative risk analysis, when you identify your risk, these are the risks inherently on this project. You will not come and perform qualitative risk analysis. Qualitative risk analysis means you are trying to categorize the risk based on their quality by using either their impact. You will say low, high, and medium. As evaluating risk, using those functions as it has a low impact, it has a high impact, it has a middle impact, is what we call qualitative analysis. From there, you will know which of the risk has high impact, which of the risk has low impact. Analyzing risk in that format is what we call qualitative risk analysis. We also have what we call quantitative risk analysis. Quantitative risk analysis is now you are trying to assign numerical value to analyzing the risk. In such process, you arrange this risk on a scale. You will say risk on a scale of 1 to 2 is a low impact risk. Risk on 3 to 4 is a middle impact risk. Risk of 5 to 10 is a high impact risk. So analyzing risk by assigning numerical value is what we call quantitative risk analysis. I hope you can get the differences. Qualitative risk analysis is you assigning analyzing risk based on the impact of their low level of impact, low, medium, and high. But assigning values to the risk is called quantitative risk analysis. And when you finish, you plan your risk response. How am I going to mitigate the effect of this risk when it finally happens? That is risk response process. You will get a document called risk response plan. Then you also have a implement risk response. When the risk finally happens, how are we going to implement the process? We also have implement risk response. Then the last one is monitor the risk. We will see all this one tomorrow. So in risk, we have what we call, we consider the probability and the impact. And that is where we come up with what we call probability and impact matrix. You will check the probability of occurrence, and you will check the impact of occurrence. That will help you to analyze the urgency of the response plan. If the risk has a low probability of occurrence and a low impact risk, there is no need to respond to the risk early. But if the risk has a high probability of occurrence and also has a high impact, it means that you have to respond to that risk first before the other one. So I will be showing you another slide tomorrow where we dealt with those one extensively, probability and impact matrix form. I will show you the form also. Then I will also show you tomorrow how to estimate risk. Risk is not what you assign a contingency to. You will just say contingency. First of all, we have two major types of risk: risk that are known and risk that are not known. Risk that are known is what we call known unknown. The risk that are not known, they are called unknown. The money that is set aside to respond to risks that are known are called contingency reserve. While the money set aside to respond to risks that are yet to be identified, they are called management reserve. We'll be discussing this also tomorrow in detail in risk register and even in cost management tomorrow. So when tomorrow we also see how to estimate the contingency reserve. Contingency reserve is not just the money you apply 10% to. Apply 10% contingency. How do you know if the 10% will be enough? So to calculate the contingency reserve of a project, in other words, called the expected monetary value, you have to know the impact of the risk and you have to know the probability of occurrence. And from there, you will know the expected monetary value, which is the contingency value. Tomorrow, we'll be using impact, probability impact and matrix form, and we'll be using tree diagram tomorrow to calculate the expected monetary value. So there are different ways you respond to risk. When risks are positive, we have positive risk. Positive risks are called opportunity. When you have such a risk, your response strategy to them is you accept them, you exploit them, you can share them with other people. I have a special slide for that one tomorrow. I think let me reserve that to tomorrow. The other one, we come to procurement management system. Procurement management includes the process necessary to purchase or acquire products or services or results needed from outside of the project team. What are the processes? One, plan procurement document management. And you will end up with a singular document that is called procurement management plan. The other one is to conduct procurement. That is the purchasing of the materials. The other one, you control procurement. So in procurement management, we apply what is called contracts. There are different contracts in procurement management, and we also deal with that one tomorrow under risk. We have three types of contract. We have the fixed contract, fixed price contract, we have time and material contract, and we have cost reimbursable contract. tomorrow I will show you under which condition you go into any of this contract and the risk associated with each of the contract and who bear the risk of each of the contract. In a fixed price contract, who bear the risk? In a time and material contract, who bears the risk? In a cost reimbursable contract, who bear the risk? And each of them, especially the fixed price contract and the cost reimbursable contract, we also have different types of contract under them. We'll be discussing all of them tomorrow. Now, we go into stakeholder management. Project stakeholder management includes the process required to identify the people, the group, organization that could impact or be impacted by the project. That is why we say negatively impacted and positively impacted. Those are stakeholders. So what you need, the processes you need is, first of all, you identify your stakeholder. Who are your stakeholders? When do you identify stakeholder? I told you today, you identify stakeholder during the initiative stage. When you identify all the stakeholders in your project, you will come up with a singular document that is called stakeholder register. So after that, you plan stakeholder engagement. That is where you will now come up with a document called stakeholder engagement plan. After that, you manage stakeholder engagement and you monitor stakeholders. Stakeholder needs to be monitored effectively in your project. Otherwise, you will end up running a very bad project because when a major stakeholder should pull out. So tomorrow, I will also show you how you will engage stakeholders, different levels of stakeholders. We have when the stakeholder has a high impact on the project. How are you going to respond to it? When a stakeholder has a low impact in the project, how are you going to respond to that stakeholders? There is a chart I will use tomorrow, it's called stakeholder chart, that you will know when a stakeholder is into different category, this is how you will manage the stakeholders. And it's also very common in exam. So the next, that is the end of all the project process group. Stakeholder is the last one, and it's what we have discussed so far. So as we have 5 process group, 10 knowledge area, we have 49 process mapping. We have, this is the knowledge area, project integration, project scope management, project schedule, project cost, all to stakeholders. And these are the what happens in each of them. Initiative process group, where do we do it? It's only integration. And we have it again in stakeholder management, identify stakeholders. When you come to planning group, those are the activity carried out in planning under the different processes. Just try to read through and you master them. Under executing, those are the activities that are being carried out under executing and each of the process group. Monitoring and control, these are the activities. Just try to read them and understand them, not to cram. Then we have closing. We have it in integration, and we also have it, that is where we have only the closing. So at this point, we are now into network analysis. That is where we will start from tomorrow, where we'll be analyzing critical part. We'll be talking about the float and free float. We'll be talking about task dependency, early start and early finish. We'll be talking about cost calculation tomorrow. We'll be talking about risk calculation tomorrow. So at this point, this is where we will end up today, the general overview about project management. So tomorrow we will dedicate our time to all the calculations that are common in project management so that you will understand them, and the other one will just be theory which you can read on your own. So at this point, I will give room for final questions and answer, and we call it a day for today. Thank you very much. So you can unmute yourself this time. This is an interactive session where you ask questions, we respond to it till we meet tomorrow for the detailed calculations. Any question on my video this time?
What time tomorrow?
Tomorrow we are still starting 3:30.
What time tomorrow?
3:30.
Oh, 3:30. All right,
Yes.
thanks.
Okay. So any question from other participants so that we end to this lecture? Okay, so the training is being recorded. At the end of the training, I'm going to share the recording with everybody. So you can have the link, you can replay and hear what we discussed during the course of the training. So when I'm sharing the certificate, I will share the recorded video as well. So if there is no question from anybody at this point, I think I will bid you good night. Have a rest night. Tomorrow we meet up again. Okay, good night. Thank you very much for today. You can unmute yourself and let me hear your voice before you can also depart.
Good night.
Okay, thank you very much. We meet tomorrow. So in the course of you try to remember everything that is being discussed today, you just remember a question you are supposed to ask. You can send the question to me on the on WhatsApp. I will respond to it, or you keep the question to tomorrow. We will respond to those questions before we start the training for tomorrow. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay.
Happy night rest.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you very much, sir. You have a wonderful night rest, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.